up?
There she is. Yeah. What's up,
Sorry.
girl?
Sorry it took me so long. I get my dog to stop barking, and now he's still barking.
Oh, don't sweat it.
COVID
How
times
have
are
you been?
hilarious,
First
though.
and
Like,
foremost, how have you been, Miss Jackie Venson?
I have been good. How have you been? Hey.
Better now. He can add a little ambiance. Is it a boy or a girl? What kind of dog we working with over there?
He's a corgi, and then it's a corgi, and then it's another wiener dog who's very, very influential. He's very influenceable. So
Okay.
once Dexter starts barking, the littler wiener dog. I have two wiener dogs, a medium wiener dog and a small wiener dog, and the smaller wiener dog also often picks up the bad habits of his larger wiener older brother.
Does the small wiener dog fit into the medium-sized wiener dog, fit into the largest wiener dog? Is it one of those crazy, like, Russian nesting doll situations?
They do look like 2/3 of a babushka, yes. Or whatever that thing is. The Russian something dolls, yes. They do look like, yeah.
And hey, if you are one of the millions of people who have, probably tuned into one of your live streams in the past year, you might have seen your dogs make cameo appearances.
Definitely. My little puppy, his name's Jack. He's been on many of my streams. He's tour size. The medium sized wiener dog's a little too big for tour.
Nice.
But the puppy, the Dachshund, he could fit on an airplane in a pinch. You know what I mean?
Well, let me introduce you to all the Lucy 93.3 listeners here. Welcome, Miss Jackie Venson, to our Lucy Live, driven by the Central Texas Honda dealers. Jackie, you know me, girl. I've been a huge fan ever since I first saw you grace a stage. I don't even know how many, I'm not going to date myself, how many years ago that was. And you've just had such an amazing year. I feel like you have put everything into high gear. And I know the year that we've all had as a community, as a nation, as a world, going through social justice issues, going through a dang old pandemic. You have amazing shows coming up. You've got new music that we're going to talk about, maybe even drop some hints. But first, kind of take us back, man, because you haven't just been sitting around resting on your laurels. You put it into an extra gear that's giving me goosebumps just even thinking about what you accomplished this past year. Well,
I think, honestly, the amount of work that I did, if we're just going to talk about, let's just put it into pounds. Let's say it's I did 1,000 pounds of work last year, let's just say hypothetically.
Right.
I'm telling you that I always do 1,000 pounds of work every year for the last 10 years. It's just that last year it was all visible. See, it was this trippy thing that I realized that when you play a physical show and it ends, it's over. Maybe 500 people showed up, maybe 50 people showed up, but when it's over, it's over. And it's almost like it never happened unless somebody got some footage of it, right? But a live stream, when it's over, it's never over. It's like somebody watches it the next day, somebody watches it 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later. And that's what I realized last year after putting the exact same amount of work I physically put in for smaller groups of people for one-time things, instead of putting the same amount of work into being visible the whole year.
And you can literally roll out of bed, play on your couch. I mean, do whatever, right? I mean, there's less legwork with busting all your stuff to and from the gigs.
Me and my mom joked that last year, even though I took a huge money hit, I actually ended up net making the same amount of money because I didn't have to pay to go to the gig. I didn't have to drive there. I didn't have to get the plane ticket. I didn't have to rent that or rent this. I just turned on my phone and did a stream. And so it's let's say I'd make $150 in digital tips in one night versus getting paid a lot more than that to show up in person. Well, then after you pay the band and after pay everything, it's kind of seems like you end up with $150 anyway.
For sure.
So me and my mom joke about how I net made the same amount of money last year, but gross did not.
And just for perspective for people tuning in, have you kept track? Because I know this was quite a few months ago. I saw you listed as one of the most streamed musicians in the past year. Can you quantify literally how many people have tuned in to watch you in the last year from all over the world?
Well, for quarter 4 of 2020, I was in the top 10, and it had logged, or I think it was the first quarter of 2020, and it had logged 6 million views on Facebook and YouTube. And actually, so they changed, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Facebook has changed again. And it's not like it was last year. The layout's different, but just because the layout, like basically the layout's just the tip of the iceberg. The layout's different, but the whole algorithm is different. Everything's different. And so it doesn't behave the way it used to. So my page doesn't reach as many people as I used to, because I'm pretty sure that they're squeezing the algorithm to make it so that you absolutely have to pay for that. They don't want you to get that exposure for free, which is like, whatever, the platform's already free, I understand. And
Facebook and their algorithm.
I know, but the platform's already free, so I understand why, like, they got to get theirs too.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, last year, for the months of October, November, and December, my page reached 7 million people.
That's insane, Jackie.
I couldn't believe it.
Do you ever take the time to really be like, holy, like, that's insane?
It was really crazy looking at that number. It doesn't quite get there anymore. I'm not sure if I could get it there without advertising anymore with the new algorithm. But what was nuts is that Facebook wasn't ready for the pandemic. So like, they had not tightened up a lot of their stuff yet. And everybody just started using that platform like pedal to the metal. And they were just like, all this money is just, I can't believe that chick reached 7 million people for not one dime. They were pretty mad about that, so they've changed it.
Well, if you're just tuning in and you've never been experienced to a Jackie Venson live show or any of her music, follow along with her on all of her platforms at Jackie Venson. And I've even noticed nowadays, like, you're doing live Reddits too.
Oh, well, okay, Reddit is a whole other dimension. Like, Reddit is not a platform that's trying to get you to pay them to advertise. Reddit is more like Wikipedia or Google, where it's like a internet hub where people go for information and community and to post questions and stuff. It's a forum. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it also happens to be a forum that has capabilities of a social media platform as well. It's just that, unlike Facebook, it's heavily moderated. So you can't just get away with anything on Reddit. Like, you really can't. And so Reddit is more like a representation of the whole internet, whereas Facebook is a demographic. Like, there's only certain age ranges that use Facebook, whereas Reddit is a place where everybody goes. Even if you don't have a Reddit account, I promise you've been on Reddit. Like,
or a
subreddit. Yeah, because you had a question and you couldn't find an answer anywhere else besides Reddit, right? So it's more of like a representation of the entire internet versus just like one subset of it. Like, TikTok is just like this age group. Facebook is just this age group. YouTube is hard to be quantified and hard to capture people because people don't just hang out on YouTube. They go there for like one thing and then they leave. Reddit is really powerful in that way. And so once we found out that I could live stream to it, we tried it out. And they have this thing called top broadcast. And if a lot of people watch your stuff, that pushes you to the front page of Reddit. And then, like, boom, you're like getting watched by like 6,000 people. It's crazy.
Reddit is like the wormhole gift that almost will never stop giving.
Yeah.
You can go as deep down in it as you want.
It's the last stand of the people when it comes to the internet. It's the last stand, because I bet you anything, there will be a time where every other platform is heavily censored. And Reddit's the only one where you really can go to for the truth, like for the unfiltered truth. And I think that's kind of like a mission of theirs. But, you never know what's going to happen with these things. It might come under the control of somebody else at some point, and then it becomes just as bad as the others. But
yeah,
right now, Reddit is like the unbridled internet.
Well, Jackie, you mentioned the truth. A lot of people are commenting right now that Jackie Venson is a legend. Jackie Venson is the truth. I would agree with all that, and have been for quite some time. You played ACL Live for the first time ever. You dropped Vintage Machine. How many total albums did you kind of release in the last year and a half? Are we up to 7 or something like that?
In the last year and a half, well, in 2020, I released 5. I can't remember if I released any. I released Joy in 2019, so.
So Joy, Vintage Machine, like ACL Live, right?
Yeah, I did Austin City Limits, live at Austin City Limits, and then live in Texas And then I did Jackie the Robot Volume 1 and 2. And Volume 2 is a remix of the entire Joy album. And then I did Vintage Machine. And yeah. Well, because like everybody was like at home listening, you know? It's like the strike while the iron's hot, you know?
Yeah. Some people have been commenting, man, Jackie, you were in my living room every night throughout the month of December.
Yeah.
You are one of those like shining beacons of light that not only with your positivity and your social conscious and your voice here locally. Oh, nice. But you've been there for people who might have actually really been struggling with, you know, lack of social interaction, or like you're the highlight of their moment, their day, their month, just by beaming yourself in through any of those platforms that you
beaming
mentioned.
Myself in.
Beaming on in.
I love that. I love that, because that's exactly what it's like. You're just
yeah.
like, it's just like, okay, it's another Wednesday in the pandemic. And it's like, bing, you're like, oh, cool. That's exactly what it's like. I'm just like, zing, I'm in your life now.
Personally to you, because we haven't really been able to chance to catch up, what like has meant the most? Do you have like a proudest moment from any of that? Changing the conversation, to putting out so many albums, to touching so many people in their living rooms, like not literally through your beam, but like, have you had a moment to reflect on any of this? Or are you still living in the moment?
Well, I reflect on it while I'm living it, you know? Hey,
nice.
Stop that. This guy.
Oh,
this guy.
Jackie just showed her wiener on the internet.
He's too much. I'm showing my wiener on the internet. Look at him.
Yes.
He's a long boy.
Is that the big wiener?
This is the little wiener. He's a
long that's the little wiener?
Boy. Oh, he's small, but he's mighty.
But yeah, anyways, for real, like I want to know personally, like, do you have a proud moment yet, or?
Well, honestly, the blessing about the internet is that so people can reach out to me and tell me things. So people tell me that like they had a really hard time in the pandemic, and people showed up to some of my shows in April, like my first shows back in April in Florida. People would say, I saw you on Reddit every night in December, and like it was so cool, and it was like a Christmas present on Christmas, and it was like really nice because I couldn't see my family and I couldn't go anywhere, and so I'm like literally all alone, and it was just really nice to have something to look forward to every night. And that was cool because like I don't know any of these people, and I don't know how else I would have met any of these people. And so it's really neat to know that like I helped people without like knowing that I helped people. So that was cool. And then another cool thing about the whole Blues on the Screen upset was that now people are like not having it anymore. Like that's all I ever wanted. All I ever want is for people to like see the same atrocities that I see and then feel the need to pull a hard stop. Like I want people to be able to be that drastic. I don't feel like we have been drastic enough in American history. Like there's so many things that need to come to a full stop. And so it's almost like the people need to be trained how to full stop. It's like, look, you need to know when to see something that is obviously not right. And then when you see that it's obviously not right, you need to immediately do something about it. Or else nothing's ever going to change. It's going to take centuries and centuries and centuries, and we're going to all sit around with our thumbs up our butts wondering why things aren't changing. It's like, well, things aren't changing because you aren't changing them, you know? So It was really cool, Blues on the Screen, seeing like artists just be like, nope, I'm not your token. Nope. Like they like they like change the way they book shows, and people are paying more attention to bills, and audience members are paying more attention to bills before they even go to the show. They're like, they're like, well, what show am I going to? You know,
right.
Now people are thinking for themselves. And that was really cool. It's really cool to see that.
It's one thing to start. It's one thing to start a conversation. You had a hand in definitely not only changing the conversation, but changing the landscape physically for the better right here in the live music capital of the world, man. So much love to you just for working so hard and being you and never shying away from that voice that you've always had. We love you, Jackie Venson.
No problem. I love you back. I'm so happy I'm so happy and proud to be in Austinite. We have a lot of work, to do, but I'm still proud to live here.
Right. Yeah. The work doesn't stop. I mean, it's a constant grind.
It is.
And you're back out there doing it again, coming up at Antone's here. Tell me about how special that place is to your heart.
2 nights in a row, man. June 18th and 19th. That's going to be really cool. I think there's less than 100 tickets left every night, both nights. So they're not going to last. They never were going to last, and they are not lasting. So check it out. We probably, like, a slow day is like 10 tickets each night we'll sell on a slow day. So,
and plus that kind of helps give back to Clifford's Foundation too, as well, right?
Definitely. We're going to stream the whole thing. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. We're streaming it. So they're setting up an entire lights rig. It's going to be like so pro. You guys don't even know. And like the cameras are going to, oh my God. I'm basically like filming a 2-night movie at this freaking club. And you get to also watch the stream or be there in person. It's going to be really great.
Well, you heard our girl. Not many tickets left. Hit up JackieVenson.com to get tickets to one of those 2 shows at Antone's, June 18th and 19th. And what else do we have to look forward to as far as Love Transcends?
Oh yeah, so I got a new blues album coming out. The first single drops on June 18th, which is one of the first night of Antone's. So I'm going to play it at Antone's, so you'll be able to hear it live. And then on the second night of Antone's, my dad's opening for me, so you get to see my dad's band.
That's crazy.
So that's really cool. It's a family affair on June 19th. Juneteenth, baby. And I'm also going to do Lift Every Voice, the Black National Anthem, on Austin FC on their opening game. It's going to be on ESPN. I'm doing that same night, June 19th, and I'm coming straight from that to the show. I'm going to feel like a true rock star that day. I'm going to be like, all right, where's my car? I need to go to my show now.
I want to be on record that you dropped that news. That wasn't your brother B-DOE spilling the beans.
I spilled the beans. I haven't told anybody that I spilled the beans.
First of all, I just want you to know that I got a sneak listen of that new single, and it was chills on chills on chills. Nice. I can't wait to hear the whole blues album. I don't want to say it's you stripped down, but I would say it's not even natural. It's to your core. And it spoke to me, and I can't wait for it to speak to everybody else that ever hears it. So she's going to play that for you June 18th at Antone's. And if you just missed that news, our girl Jackie Venson is going to be performing at probably one of the biggest events, sports or otherwise, in Austin's history on the 19th.
I'm stoked.
Yeah. On ESPN. It's worldwide, baby. This is
worldwide. I feel like Pitbull. Worldwide.
Dale.
Worldwide.
I know you're rushed for time and everything too, but you've got a crazy cruise coming up with some huge big hitters in the game. You want to hit on that?
Dude, this year is going to be really crazy. Okay, so like I got to tell you how crazy this worked out. So I spent 8 years of my now 10 and a half long guitar career looking for a booking agent. It took me 8 years. And I tried out a lot of agents before then, and some of them were like great people, but they weren't exactly what I needed in the agent realm. I tried to train people to be agents. Like I tried a whole bunch of things because it's a big job and it's really hard for me to do that and also be the creative. And so I finally found an agent with the help of Louis, my manager. And
shout out Louis.
Yeah, shout out to Louis. And I finally found an agent, and he booked this awesome tour. And I found him in July of 2019. So he booked this awesome tour for 2020. So last year was supposed to be my first tour with an agent.
And then?
And then it all got canceled, but not really canceled because he's a really good agent. He actually just postponed it. So a lot of these dates that I have this year were just the same exact, pretty much almost exact to the date that I had last year that we had to, cancel. And so a lot of these shows were already there. We already had the structure of a tour. But the way the fates worked out in having the year that I had in 2020 and then having 2021 be the first year that I have go on a tour with a real agent. Because now all the stuff that I did in 2020, the agent was able to use and turn it into stuff that he never would have been able to do in 2019. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
So it's wild that like I finally got an agent, and I'm kicking myself thinking I finally get an agent. This is like March of 2020. I finally get an agent and this happens, right? I'm kicking myself. But now here I am a year and a half later, last year's tour wouldn't have been as good as this year's tour because I wouldn't have had all of the foundation of everything that happened last year.
Right. Universe, man.
Universe.
People are asking where they can get your music, and I would just say hit up JackieVenson.com. You got links to get it everywhere, right? Or do you have somewhere specifically that you want to send folks to get your tunes?
Spotify, Amazon, any of that stuff. But also, if you just like click on my profile on Instagram, like you don't even need to really leave this app. Just go to my profile and check out my IGTV. Like, I got a lot of stuff.
A lot of great stuff. You mentioned kind of just the grind and how long you've been at it, and then all of a sudden things happen. Speak to that up and coming artist, musician, on how to like stick with the craft, or what advice would you give right now after everything you've been to that Jackie Venson that just first picked up the guitar and wanted to find somewhere to gig?
Don't lose touch with why you wanted to do it in the first place. You wanted to do it because it was a joy. And the idea of being able to support your life with something that brings you joy, that's what you're in it for. And so any kind of like decisions based on desperation to get somewhere you think you need to go, like don't listen to that kind of energy. Just only listen to the joy that made you want to do it in the first place. And if you just let that guide you, you'll be safe against the snakes in the grass.
Much love, Jackie. I think I needed to hear that again right now as well. So, I mean, that touches, humans on many levels. And speaking about much love, you want to give a special shout out to the JV squad who is like ride or die for my girl out there.
JV squad is killing it. Some of these awesome squad members have like watched 97% of my streams. One of them he lives in like Scotland, and the times are all screwed up, and he watches me every morning at 4 a.m. So it's so amazing. And then also I go to these shows, and these people I'm telling you about, they show up at my shows because they're like, oh my God, you're coming to this tiny town in Colorado? Like, what? And then they show up and like, they turn from just comments into like real people materialize. I'm like, wow, you're like a whole real person. You're not just words anymore. Whoa. It's trippy as hell, man.
For real.
But it's like trippy in the best way.
Yeah, man. You get that love face to face, and hopefully it's not a creepy trippy, right?
Yeah. Odell said it in the comments. Kevin Duff, he always tunes in from Scotland.
Right on. Well,
See, he's a regular too.
Yeah, shout out to Scotland, any country that's been turned on to Jackie Venson the past year and a half, and to everybody that's going to even find out even more about you. She's hitting the road. Follow along with her at Jackie Venson on all your socials, JackieVenson.com to find those tour dates, June 18th and 19th. Limited tickets remain for that big Antone show. Love Transcends coming out next. I've already heard a little sneak peek of it, man, and I swear it's chills on chills on chills even talking about it, Jackie. You always have a home wherever your brother B-DOE is. Much love, much support. You are truly an inspiration, not for the city that we call Austin, but for the world, man. So just don't ever stop doing what you're doing out there.
I won't, man. I'll just keep reaccessing the original joy that made me want to do it in the first place.
That's what I'm talking about. And before you get out of here, I know you have your finger on the pulse of fashion and style.
Yeah.
Rate your brother B-DOE's mullet.
I think that is a sick mullet, and you did the right move in coupling it with the mustache, because a mullet without a mustache, like, what are you even doing? That's like having, toast with no butter on it. So congratulations, you added the butter, and you nailed it. You nailed it.
Jay Michaels, I hope you're paying attention to that. The queen, Jackie Venson, just blessed the mullet and the mustache. Toast and butter, everybody.
Toast and butter, baby.
Can't wait to see you again in person, and everybody look for it. She's going to be basically opening up the home match at Austin FC. Much love to you, Jackie.
What's up? What's up, CG? And also, peace out. I guess we're signing out.
We got to go until we can hang out and rock a show in person, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Much love to you, Jackie.
Can't wait. Talk to you soon, man.
That's Jackie Venson. Follow along with her at Jackie Venson. Follow along with all those tour dates at, JackieVenson.com. And don't forget to wake up with me, your brother B-DOE, weekdays, 6 to 10 a.m. right here on Lucy 93.3. That was another Lucy Live. Man, might be one of my most favorite ones ever. Driven by the Central Texas Honda dealers. Stay well out there and tune in to Lucy 93.3.